never forget how fast a dream trip can turn into a nightmare. My best friend Leo and I had been saving up for a road trip through South America for over a year. We had everything mapped out: routes, hostels, safety tips, even a GPS backup. But nothing prepares you for the moments that don't make sense until it's too late. We were somewhere near the northern border of a small country. I won't say exactly where. It was supposed to be a quick drive to the next city. Then Leo spotted a scenic-looking road that curved around a lake. "Let's take the detour," he said. 20 minutes max. The road started out fine, but the pavement turned to dirt. Then came barbed wire, worn-down military signs, and no other cars. We figured we'd just turn around, but before we could, 2 trucks pulled up behind us, boxing us in. 4 men in faded uniforms stepped out, not saying much. One tapped on my window and asked for our passports. I hesitated, but something about the way he looked at us made me hand it over. They told us we were in a restricted zone and had to come with them for processing. Leo and I were loaded into the back of a truck. No cuffs, no weapons pointed, just firm insistence. The ride was bumpy and silent. When we stopped, we were at a crumbling compound near a village, with no signs, no cell signal, and no other travelers. We were taken to a small building, told to wait. Hours passed. A man who seemed to be in charge came in and told us there had been a mistake, but that it would cost money to fix. A lot of money. Cash only. It felt like a scam, but the kind you don't walk away from easily. They still had our passports and they knew our names. That night, Leo and I whispered about our options. We had to get out before things got worse. We waited until the building was quiet, slipped out through a side window, and ran. We had no plan, just fear and the sound of our own footsteps pounding through the dark. We followed a river, using our phone's compass to head west until we hit a road. It took us 5 hours to reach a gas station where a trucker let us borrow his phone. From there, we called the nearest embassy. They told us we were lucky, very lucky. Other travelers had gone missing in that same region under eerily similar circumstances. I don't know exactly who those men were or how deep it went, but I do know this. The exit we took wasn't on any official map, and I've never trusted a scenic detour again. I should have known something was off when we booked the resort. It popped up as a sponsored ad on my phone. Exclusive adults only getaway, 70% off, limited availability. My girlfriend Sarah and I had been dying for a break from work, and it looked perfect. White sand beaches, private bungalows, candlelit dinners under the stars, too good to pass up. We flew in the next day. A man holding a cardboard sign with our names was already waiting outside the tiny coastal airport. He never said much, just nodded and motioned us into a dusty white van. No logos, no branding, just tinted windows and the scent of ocean air mixed with something faintly metallic. After a long, silent drive through thick jungle roads, we pulled up to the resort. Or what looked like one. It was beautiful. Clean, quiet, almost too quiet. White buildings with clay rooftops sat nestled between palm trees. Not a single other guest in sight. The front desk clerk greeted us by name. No check-in forms, no ID needed. Just a warm smile and 2 old-fashioned room keys. Actual metal ones, not the plastic kind. "You're our only guest this week," he said. "We hope you enjoy every moment." At first we did. The first night was magical. We had dinner by torchlight, the waves just steps away. But sometime after midnight, I woke up in a different bed. The furniture was the same, but the layout was wrong. Sarah was asleep beside me, undisturbed. I chalked it up to jet lag or sleepwalking. But the next morning, Sarah whispered, Did the mirror move?" It had, Every day, something changed. Furniture swapped, our clothes folded differently. My phone showed no service, and the date didn't change. It stayed frozen on the day we arrived. When we asked the staff, they just smiled. Some guests find the experience disorienting at first. That night, we tried to leave. We walked down the long gravel path toward the front gates. But the path never ended. We walked for over an hour, until we somehow found ourselves back at our bungalow. It was then I noticed something on the front desk, a guest book, thick and worn. Out of curiosity, I opened it. The first page had our names. The second page had them again. And the third. Over and over, each page dated the same day, the day we checked in. There were no other guests, just us. Hundreds of pages deep. Sarah started crying. She wanted to scream, but no sound came out, like something was pressing on our throats, silencing us. Now, every time I blink, I feel like something shifts again. We're still here, smiling, dining, swimming, but it's like we're being watched, studied. I don't know how long we've been here, or if we ever really arrived. I've always been the kind of traveler who prefers the path less taken. Hostels over hotels, back streets over boulevards. So, when I landed in Lisbon, Portugal, I went with a quiet, off-the-map hostel on the edge of the city. It was cheap, had decent reviews, and I figured it'd be a good place to meet other travelers. The building was old, with narrow staircases and creaky floors, but it had character. I was placed in a 4-bed dorm though. Only one other person was there, another solo traveler named Alex. He looked to be in his 30s, soft-spoken, and always wore this worn-out army green jacket, even inside. We talked briefly. He said he'd been traveling across Europe for months, just taking things day by day. I respected that. We crossed paths a few times over the next 2 days. He wasn't exactly friendly, but not unfriendly either. Just quiet. Kept mostly to himself, always scribbling in this little notebook. At night, I'd sometimes hear him moving around in his room next door, pacing, dragging something across the floor maybe. I chalked it up to jet lag or insomnia. No big deal. But things started to feel off. One evening, I came back from a day trip and noticed the front desk clerk whispering with 2 people in plain clothes. They looked serious. A few hours later, around midnight, I was woken up by loud knocking, followed by shouting, "Police." They stormed in with flashlights, moving past my room, straight to Alex's. He didn't resist, just stood there calmly, hands behind his back, like he knew this was coming. The notebook was in his pocket. I remember that detail clearly. The next day, the hostel was buzzing with rumors. No one really knew what had happened, but someone said he'd been connected to a series of missing tourist cases across Europe. The authorities had apparently been tracking him for months. They searched his room for hours. I later learned from a news report that he'd used multiple fake names and often targeted budget hostels, places where guests came and went quickly and no one asked too many questions. I kept thinking about the conversations we had, how normal he seemed. He'd ask me what countries I was heading to next, if I usually traveled alone. Stuff that felt casual at the time. Looking back, it sends chills down my spine. I don't know how close I came to danger. Maybe I was never in it. Or maybe I was next on some list I'll never see. I ended my trip early after that, booked the first flight home, and never looked back. But sometimes, when I stay in unfamiliar places, I still listen closely to the sounds coming from the room next door.